Let's start off from Parliament because the minority in Parliament are promising a showdown in the House if government does not take steps to reduce taxes and implement economic policies that will address the suffering of the public. Ghana is currently under an IMF program, but the economic indicators have not improved as expected. According to Minority Leader Dr. Forson, government will struggle to get the budget through the House if there are new measures which worsens the plight of citizens.
Right Honourable Speaker, let me use this opportunity to assure the people of Ghana that we in the Minority Caucus will scrutinize the upcoming budget statement and economic policy of government with eagle eyes. Mr. Speaker, the prevailing economic conditions has already made it very difficult for the ordinary Ghanaian and businesses, and therefore we can't be a party to any policy or measure which makes things even more unbearable and in fact miserable for the already suffering Ghanaians and businesses. Mr. Speaker, let me be blunt here. The upcoming budget statement will encounter resistance if it does not prioritize the need of the people and businesses. This indeed is our bottom line. Right Honourable Speaker, so if this government knows that its upcoming budget statement will not prioritize the business of the people, particularly the businesses, let them get ready for a showdown. Mr. Speaker, let them get ready for a showdown. Right Honourable Speaker, the Minority Caucus, we have not forgotten the cry of the people of Ghana. We have held the government accountable and exposed its sins and want to assure the people of Ghana that we'll continue to do so. We are tired of seeing many young professionals leaving our shores in droves because they find no opportunities in our dear country as a result of harsh economic conditions, poor governance, and indeed corruption. Mr. Speaker, the position taken by the Minority Caucus is not intended to frustrate the government. Far from that. We have taken a decision and a position to be on the side of the people of Ghana, as we have done in the life of this parliament.
But Majority Leader Osei Mesa says that will be much ado about nothing.
As for the budget statement, I believe we will all witness what we need to witness. And I believe since this government assumed the reins of governance, nothing but the truth has ever been told to this country. And indeed, the truth will be told to this country. And I believe that people will see what steps that government has been taking to really reposition this country.
Now, Isaac Kofi is with our research team here, and he joins me in studio with more on the taxes vis-a-vis the IMF conditions. Kofi, how's the data looking like?
So first of all, we should know that the tax component is a major aspect of this IMF program that we are running. In fact, revenue mobilization, the IMF finds out that government has actually weak revenue collection and describes our tax system as one that is probably not in a very good situation. And so currently we are running a tax to GDP ratio somewhere around 13%. The IMF anticipates that this will reach 14% by the end of this year, rise again to somewhere around 14.7% by the end of 2024, and then also go ahead to increase to somewhere around 15% in 2026, 2025, and then somewhere 16.2 in 2026. That's when the IMF program, tax to GDP ratio.
Okay.
So if you look at this trajectory and you ask yourself that very simple question, can government, afford dropping any tax or reducing taxes? If I look at this target, it will be difficult for government at the moment because some of the tax handles that are supposed to bring in or rake in much revenue are not doing or performing the way they projected that they will perform. Look at a tax revenue like e-levy. Initially, it was supposed to bring in somewhere around 7 billion Ghana cedis by the end of 2022. We missed that target. And I've been looking at the provisional fiscal data from the finance ministry, and it does not look like we will also reach the target for 2023. And so you already have some tax handles in the system not fetching government the amount they need. Government on the other side has a tax to do, which is to raise its tax to GDP ratio to 16.2% by the end of the IMF program. Okay. I looked at the 2023 budget, and we are looking for tax, in terms of total revenue and grants, somewhere around 143 billion Ghana cedis. Okay. And tax component alone is hovering around 78%. 78%. Trust me, in 2024, it'll probably go beyond 80%. And so, if you look at the language in the IMF program, although protecting the vulnerable is priority, but it looks as if that if government finds its own way, it will introduce more taxes or probably find ways and means to make the available taxes work, because all they are looking for is more revenue and revenue generation.
Okay, let's bring in a financial economist and a visiting professor at the Gimpa Business School, Professor Lord Mesa, who believes reduction in taxes must be the order of the day. He joins us on the telephone lines now. Prof, grateful for joining us. Now, considering the conditions we need to fulfill the IMF deal to ensure that we improve on our tax to GDP ratio, how feasible then is this call by the minority?
Yeah, good evening and good evening to our viewers. You see, what is happening in this country, we seem to be getting to a point where, the tax fatigue has set in. Can you hear me, please?
Yes.
Yes, tax fatigue has set in, and businesses are reacting to that. You hear everybody calling for government not to introduce taxes, but then find an innovative way to rope in the informal sector. Increasing tax revenue or increasing revenue, which taxes form the largest component, does not necessarily mean that you have to be increasing taxes. What we need to appreciate is that when you get to a point where, you get saturated in taxes, businesses crippled. Now look at, inflation rate and look at treasury bill rate. What you are saying is that increasing taxes on businesses will tend to, reduce after-tax profits, which in turn will have effect on after-tax returns on businesses. And with this effect, if the businessman knows very well that the after-tax return is not up to what treasury bills can offer on the market, he will stop doing the business. And what happens to the economy? The economy cripples. If we stop doing the business, the money will be invested in what? Treasury bills. Sit at home, more people will not be employed, and in the end, we cripple down the productive sector of the economy. That is why the call for not introducing new taxes and possibly find a way to maintain or reduce existing taxes is in order.
Okay.
Because we've gotten to a point where, we are saturated.
Okay. Now, but it's not because companies have not utilized the savings from operating in a regime of less taxes to expand. That's why government wants to then engage in these upfront taxes.
You see, let me look at the position of this government over the years. It has been an upfront, taxes, upfront revenue generation. But if you defer or you don't front load your taxes and you allow the businesses to grow with it, it will turn up to what? Grow the economy. And then you reap your taxes in the future. Holding on taxes now is more or less an investment in the economy indirectly. So effectively, if government wants the economy to grow, and let's look at it, government is not supposed to employ, i.e., government is not supposed to be in business as expected. So if government is not supposed to be in business, and you are forcing your way to generate revenue as a result of the IMF program, what is the government going to use the revenue for? Is it going to expand the economy, or is it going to use it to, grow by employing people in the public sector? If the IMF program is restricting the government from not employing, it means that government operations must shift the economy to the private sector.
Okay.
And shifting the economy to the private sector does not mean that you have to be squeezing them of taxes. If you squeeze them of taxes, they will not get room to maneuver as expected, and by so doing, they will not produce. And especially when your treasury bill rate is so high and your inflation rate is also high. You give them the incentive to even avoid taxes sometimes. And we should understand that when you increase your taxes to a point, you incentivize businesses and individuals to avoid taxes. They steal their way through. So let's be careful. I mean, there is a need to find a balance between, revenue generation and then, economic, vibrancy. Very, very important.
Okay. Now, if this will be done in terms of government reducing taxes, if it's possible, looking at the sort of revenue that we need to raise, what must be the critical things that they need to look out for?
Yeah, I'm looking at, the existing handle, but then the informal sector. We've had investment into national identification cards. We've had investment into, Ghana cards, which identifies individuals doing businesses that are not in the tax net, which identifies their locations who are not in the tax net. So effectively, why don't you leverage on that to identify those businesses and then rope them into the tax net? Okay.
All right, Prof, I'm grateful to you for joining us. Professor Lord Mesa is a financial economist and a visiting professor at the Gimpa School of Business. Now, Kofi, just before we go, we've been going through the figures we have. You've seen that people are paying more VAT?
Yeah, it's true. So if you look at the computation of VAT, in some instances, it's higher probably than it's supposed to be. So let's assume you buy a phone worth 1,300. What we see right now is that we see consumers being charged levies like NHIL, Get Fund, and other things. Then after that, that tax that you've already paid is added to the original cost of the product. And the VAT
is applied. And the VAT is rather supposed to apply to the product.
Because I don't know how taxes can be value added. In fact, we are looking at the IMF program, and 4 tax reforms and restructuring are supposed to add 1% to GDP. This is the reason why businesses are complaining. Already, VAT has been increased from that 12.5 to now 15%. In the IMF program, the government is being told to remove the benchmark, at the port. What does it mean? It means that things are going to get expensive. So you look at all of these things and you see businesses already suffering. And indirectly, you, the consumer, now your income tax, those in the formal sector, has also been increased. And so we are still pressing the small formal sector that we have. And the informal sector, we've done a lot of policies, we've rolled out so many things, but the amount you are getting from the informal sector in terms of tax is nothing to write home.
All right, thank you very much. Isaac Ofieje is with our research desk here at JoyNews. Now let's take you all the way to Garu, because Parliament has ordered National Security Minister Albert Kandapa to appear before the MPs next week and explain the alleged brutalization of civilians in Garu. Some military personnel descended on the Garu township and allegedly went on a rampage, beating a resident who had also allegedly attacked some national security operatives deployed to the area. Parliamentary Affairs correspondent Kweku Asante reports.
An incensed member of parliament for Garu constituency took on the actions of the military in his constituency.
Military men visited Garu at dawn, beat up, maimed, destroyed, and in some cases took away monies and valuable properties from the residents of Garu. This is an unacceptable violation of their human rights, and as a matter of urgency, I am strongly calling on and demanding for the immediate government intervention to address this issue, and also for Parliament to open a probe into this matter and bring a comprehensive resolution to it. The brutalities in Garu and Tempani must be the last on the people of Ghana. The incident is not linked, and I want to urge the national security to come again with their reason.
But Deputy Majority Leader Alexander Afenyo-Markin took on some characterization of the national security, although he agreed with the substance of his application.
We cannot, Mr. Speaker, as a political class,
condescend to that level where we compromise the national security apparatus of this country. A statement was issued, which statement you acknowledge in your statement. However, you are saying that it's wholly untrue. You can criticize them, which I agree with you, that there were excesses in their reaction. And I'm going to support you on that. But to say that the statement they issued was wholly untrue, with respect, honorable colleague, please take that one out, because I support your statement. Human rights abuses anywhere is unacceptable. Please withdraw that aspect.
But MP for Boku Central, Mahama Yarga, insisted Parliament must assert its authority.
Ashama, we saw it. While we saw it, Boku, I have seen it several times. It has become a culture there. Mr. Speaker, we must put a stop to what our military is doing. That is why, Mr. Speaker, you must assert your authority and instruct a serious probe into this matter, Mr. Speaker.
Deputy Speaker Andrew Amoah directed National Security Minister to appear before the House next week, Thursday.
That is my directives, that the minister appear before the House on Thursday night of November. I will direct that if they have been incarcerated more than 48 hours by law, the police or the BNI or the NIB should refer them to court for them to be able to continue holding them.
Both sides agree and have now spoken in unison, in one accord, that the military brutalities against civilians in so many parts of the country must stop. A number of such cases have come up to the floor. The Defense and Interior Committee is currently saddled with a number of such cases that they have to investigate. Of course, some MPs from the New Patriotic Party fold have condemned the alleged acts of the civilians in Garu in attacking the national security vehicle. Of course, the MP for the area says that did not happen, and he's been asking for a parliamentary probe. What they have gotten now is for the National Security Minister to come before MPs, answer questions, make a statement as to what exactly happened, and then Parliament can take some steps consequently. But the general consensus is that a collective punishment meted out to residents in Garu and Timpani by military allegedly must end. Reporting for JoyNews, Kweku Asante, Parliament House, Accra.
Now, the youth in the affected towns of Garu and Timpani in the Upper East region want the Ministry of National Security and the Ghana Armed Forces to offer an unqualified apology for the brutality meted out to civilians in the two districts. They are also demanding a full-scale investigation into the incident. Emmanuel Isaka spoke on behalf of the youth.
These unprofessional military men claim that some alleged foreign national security operatives who were in Garu on an official assignment bare-faced falsehood peddled by the Ministry of National Security. Ladies and gentlemen, permit us to set the record straight on some falsehood and half-truth peddled by the Ministry of National Security in their 29th October press release. 1. The Ministry of National Security claimed that the irate youth attacked the vehicle when the officers were seated in the Land Cruiser vehicle with registration number GS 7520-22, which was removed and kept aside the vehicle. This is not accurate. The record should reflect that the officers were not in the vehicle, but rather inside the police station at the time the unknown assailants fired gunshots into the vehicle. The claim by the Minister of National Security that the officers sought refuge at the Garu police station is wholly inaccurate, and yet another attempt to create disaffection for the people of Garu and Timpani. It was rather the vigilant youth who requested that the claimed officers go with them from their hideout to the police station to authenticate their identity.
Now, for the latest on this development, our Upper East Regional Correspondent Albert Story joins us via Zoom with more. We're also joined on Zoom by security analyst Dr. Adam Boda. Grateful to you for joining us here. Now, let me start with you, Albert Story. What's the latest on the arrest? Have they been released?
No, they haven't been released. We've been talking to the residents and even the district chief executive for Timpani to, find out whether they have been released. The information we have is that they haven't yet been released. The DC was hopeful that by the end of today, he will get an update on that because he was communicating with the one of the heads of the military in the area who was giving him updates as to the condition in which the arrested people were. And the assurance he was given was that they are in good condition. But as at this evening, there was no information as to whether they will be released or not.
What about the general situation in the two areas?
A lot of the people are angry about what has happened. If you look at it, they beat up so many people. More than 30 or 40 people, were beaten up and hospitalized, and they only ended up arresting 8 people. Now, for the rest of the people that you beat up and got hospitalized, you did not arrest any of them or charge them for any crime whatsoever. So what were the beatings for? These are the questions that many of the people of Garu and Timpani are asking. And that is why if you look at the press conference that they held, a lot of them were angry. In fact, some of them came to the press conference with their injuries, just to show us that something needs to be done about it. But looking at the reactions that are coming from Parliament, I'm sure it will help calm them down a little bit.
Okay. But do we still have military men in the area?
Well, none that we know of. The regional minister, Stephen Yakubu, was in the area 2 days ago to find out what was going on there. He wanted to see the victims for himself and to also give them some assurances that government was doing something about what had happened.
Okay.
One of the assurances he gave them was that for those people who are afraid of coming back to their homes for fears that the soldiers will return, he was giving them the assurance that the soldiers were not going to come back and do anything to them, so they should return to their home.
All right, let me bring in Dr. Adam Bonana. Doc, you have been around for some time. You've been aware of these situations for some time now. What do you think was the fundamental thing that went wrong? The people say they could not believe that these people were national security personnel, and that's how they attacked them. So what was the fundamental thing that went wrong that brought about all of this?
Well, good evening. Fundamentally, it was just failure on the part of our national security to do their work as expected. Because then if you are going into an area that is seen to be very volatile, the entire area is so volatile to the extent that you have the national security come out with a slogan that says that if you see something, say something. And so if young people see a Land Cruiser that is tinted in the dark and they accost the Land Cruiser, and there is some altercation, I want to believe that the right thing for anyone who understands how these things are done is to have investigated what actually took place. But to say, well, the national security operatives, in the first place, I am told reliably with the images I have, they were in mufti. They had some submachine guns, some sidearms. And so mine is that at what point are citizens supposed to see something and say something? That is one. Two, let's say if the citizens there, let's say some people took the laws into their own hands. Does that presuppose that the state would also take the laws into its own hands and with impunity and go and brutalize everybody they see on sight? And I am still asking, under what law is the national security operating? Because the last time I checked, as far as I'm concerned, the national security doesn't have arresting powers. They don't have prosecutorial powers. So these people they are detaining, it is illegal. It will amount to false imprisonment because then if you have arrested them, which court are you going to present them to? We know under our laws, you are not supposed to detain people even in police custody for more than 48 hours without referring them to a court of competent jurisdiction. So for me, if you ask me, I will say everything surrounding what we are seeing in Garu, Timpani, and the Bugri area, and some of the things we have seen amounts to serious impunity and illegality, to say the least.
Now, this whole altercation between the security setup and civilians is becoming one too many. How do we deal with it? Because we've seen Asamoah, we've seen what happened in the Boko area, and this. What must we do to tackle it?
What we need to do is a lot of advocacy, a lot of interaction, and ensuring that we use our brains instead of our biceps. Because for me, if there is something goes wrong, little altercation, officers are sent in to go and beat people. You end up radicalizing people. And this is what culminated into Boko Haram becoming what they've become in Nigeria. Using force in trying to, clamp down people in this manner ends up radicalizing people. And so I think that there has to always be dialogue instead of using brute force. Brute force has never worked. Why didn't we send them to Niger? We should have sent them to Niger.
Because we haven't had an agreement. We haven't had an agreement in terms of ECOWAS on that.
So that we can use brute force. But we decided as a state or as a sub-region that let's use dialogue. So why can't we use dialogue? To make sure these things, we are able to bring them calm nerves. But when the little altercation, little misunderstanding, we send men in uniform, guns, people get brutalized, forced in prison. What is happening? I will tell you, it amounts to kidnapping of these people. Under which law have they detained them? Which law? Show me. Which law are they detaining these people? They literally have kidnapped them. Because then you can't keep them. You have to release them to the police. I have checked with the police in the region and all over. Where are they in the custody of the police? And when I checked in the region everywhere, they said they are not in their custody. So in whose custody are they?
Thank you very much, sir.
I think that we need to be a bit worried.
Dr. Adam Bona, I'm grateful to you for joining us tonight here on the JoyNews Prime. Now, relatedly, residents of Pankrono and Adabraka Zongo in the Ashanti region say they live in constant fear of possible reprisal clashes between the youth of the two communities. A fight that resulted in one fatality and 2 injuries a fortnight ago was an effort to avenge another death that occurred 2 years prior. 4 people have been taken into police custody in connection with the recent incident, but residents are requesting increased protection to prevent reprisals. Nana Boachi Yadom Dankwa has been chasing the story and joins us via Zoom now with more. Nana, what more do we know?
Well, Brace, what we know right now is that some 4 persons have been arrested. The court will sit on the matter on the 8th of November. Definitely would have to bring you updates as to what goes on in court. But then the residents living in Pankrono and Adabraka say they live in fear, and hence the call for security in these 2 communities, and that the clash happened not long ago. You see, 1 person unfortunately lost his life, 2 others got injured. And for now, we can say as a matter of fact that the community is not really safe for these residents. Hence, the intensive call for security in the community. But as at now, we know that 2 persons have been remanded, and the police are still chasing others. And at the end of the day, they promised me that they will still get others, some other corporates, and bring them to book.
But can we report that the police is present in the communities because the communities are saying that there could be this reprisal?
Well, Grace, for our inspection, I can say that we did not see any policemen patrolling in these 2 communities. We went to both Adabraka and then we went to Pankrono. We did not see policemen in these 2 communities. So I think that, yes, that is why these residents are hereby calling for intensive security in both communities over fear of a possible reprisal.
Have we heard from the police?
No, we haven't heard from the police. They tell me that investigations are still going on, but then officially, they are not out with any statement whatsoever.
All right, grateful to you, Nana Boache Dankwa Yadom there. This is still JoyNews Prime. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back with more. Welcome back from the break. Now, management of the National Cathedral is defending work done so far on the National Cathedral Project, even though it has become known as, it has become a project that is at a standstill. According to the executive director of the project, Dr. Paul Mesa, all money is given by government and donors have been used to do the initial groundwork and purchase of equipment for the construction. Interacting with leadership of the smaller political parties in the country, he described as mischievous assertions management is running from accountability. There's more in the following report.
The National Cathedral Project has been hit by various scandals in recent times, leading to the resignation of some leading members of the Board of Trustees. However, interacting with leadership of some political parties in the country, Executive Director of the National Cathedral, Dr. Paul Mesa, indicated that the development is due to the differences in ideology and not corruption by management.
To give you just one scenario, fundraising, there are 4 opinions on this, namely, let the state fund it, let no state funding, 2, 3, loan, no loan, only fundraising. And all these are entrenched positions with their proponents threatening to resign if their positions are not adopted. So there's one group who says, look, the church has done enough for this country, the state should build this project with state funds. And there are board members who argue that the church has contributed enough before independence and after independence, so the state should build this. And there are others who are saying absolutely not, the state should not have its hand in this at all. If the state provides more money, they are going to resign. I mean, I'm talking about the same board with the different opinions. And then there's one who says, look, there's absolutely no way you can raise money to build this. We'll go for a loan and then later we repay it. Some will say, when God called them to ministry, he told them never to take loans. And so if this project takes loans, they're going to resign.
He also defended the work done so far on the project site.
About 230,000 square meters have been excavated and removed from the site. All that, the excavation and sanitary away are all part of the resources used. We have 1,400 square meters concrete has been laid so far, 1,900 tons of rebar purchased and delivered to site, 2,000 tons of rebar installed, 10,000 square meters waterproofing material. So all these details will be given to you as part of today's. So the idea that somehow we just took funds and dug a hole is simply mischievous, and it reflects some of the issues we have to face on a daily basis as a country.
Dr. Mesa also described as mischievous claims the management of the National Cathedral are being opaque in their operations.
At the moment, I want to begin with the fact that at the moment there are 2 ongoing audits of the National Cathedral Project that seeks to look into issues of accountability, namely 1, an investigation by Shraj into issues of conflict of interest and procurement, and 2, a financial audit by Deloitte. So the notion somehow that we are running away from accountability is simply false. In fact, since January, Shraj has been involved in detailed investigations. We've been cooperating. They've been, but the last information I saw from Shraj was a questionnaire to the contractors about how they came to be selected, and they wanted all the details. So,
General Secretary of the Liberal Party of Ghana and the convener for the political parties outside Parliament, Jerry Owusu, indicated that they are satisfied with the app provided by management on the progress of work.
Because I work with a contract firm, and as a businessman, starting a business doesn't come at once. You invest so much, and at this point, if that amount has been synced into this project, I don't think it's too much for a project like this. It is a very big project, and very soon we will come out with whatever details that they are going to share with us. We will just have to come out with all our concern and our findings also, and then we will let the people know.
Prince Kwame Kuduga's report read.
The Electoral Commission of Ghana is set to commence exhibition of voters registered this Friday, as it cautions registered voters must ensure their details are captured correctly. The process, according to the EC, will allow voters to check, verify and make corrections to the details captured in the electoral roll. My colleague Michael Ashale has more in the following report.
The Electoral Commission says it is now opening up its books for all eligible voters to peruse them, check their names, cross their T's and then dot their I's to ensure that their names are properly spelt and properly captured by the Electoral Commission whilst we head into the election year 2024.
As part of the Commission's preparation towards the conduct of the district level elections slated for Tuesday, 19th November 2023, the Commission will therefore exhibit the provisional voters register simultaneously at all polling stations, which will serve as exhibition centers throughout the country from Friday, 3rd November 2023 to Tuesday, 7th November 2023. The purpose of the exhibition exercise is to allow prospective voters to verify their details, that is, name, age, sex, etc., as captured during the registration exercise, and make requests for amendments or insertions where necessary.
For eligible voters in flood-affected areas, the Commission says it will still allow them to go through the process even if they have lost their ID cards to the flood.
That area, if maybe you got your ID card missing as a result of spillage, maybe we do it free for you. Because if you have a damaged ID card and you go to the district office to replace, that one does not attract what? A fee. It's only when you miss your ID card. So we'll have a look at it. If you don't have it, you can still vote.
However, the Commission says it is contemplating if it will extend the exhibition period for individuals within these areas.
Yes, there was a question on the affected exhibition centers. So in case we start on Friday and still those places are not accessible, definitely we may treat those areas as what? Special areas, and then grant them some days to enable us do the exhibition for them.
For those who find the exhibition process a hectic one, the Commission says it has also gone digital. Many of those people can use a short code to verify their details.
Registered voters who are unable to visit the exhibition centers to verify their details may dial the short code *713*81#. The voters' details will pop up to enable them check their details at a fee of 50 pesos.
The Commission is also entreating every single eligible voter to go through the process and check if their names are properly captured in the register. For JoyNews, Michael Ashale.
A minority in parliament is alleging the government has sold Ghana's 30% stake in Vodafone for what they say is a paltry $100 million. According to former minority leader Haruna Idrisu, who is also a former communications minister, Ghana's interest in Vodafone is worth more than $1 billion and cannot understand why it will be sold for cheap and on credit. He is demanding that communications minister Ursula Owusu-Ekuful is programmed to appear before the House to answer urgent questions on the transaction.
I want the leader of government business and the business committee to program the Honorable Minister for Communications to come and respond to this House whether it is true that Vodafone, a $1 billion asset of the Republic of Ghana, have been sold on credit for less than $100 million and what the state of that transaction is as an economic transaction within the meaning of Article 185 of the 1992 Constitution, and probably also to update this House on the withering away of Ghana's telecom landscape and its trend. The telecom sector used to be a major revenue source for the government. We are hearing that Vodafone have been sold out on credit at $1 billion worth at less than $100 million. The minister must come and answer to this house. The withering away of our telecom sector and their inability to pay revenue to government. But more importantly, you know I don't speculate. Minister for Agri, you know that I'm about speculation. I'm like the blind man when I say I'll throw a stone, I'm stepping on the stone. I'm aware that $1 billion, I said yes, it's on credit. Let them come and deny. Yes, it's not been paid for. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So I want the Minister for Communication to come and answer and probably add the preparedness of the country for a 5G generation. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
That's still JoyNews Prime. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back with Showbiz.